Good evening, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Thursday, January 8th, 2015, around 8:22 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's cold out, and it's going to be maybe some snow tomorrow. Could be up to 3 inches in some areas. Some news to report. It's official. The U.S. city has picked Boston as its representative for the 2024 Summer Games, and Boston is the U.S. city that will host the Summer Games in 2024 if it's selected by the IOC, which will vote on who will host the 2024 Summer Olympic Games in the year 2017. And also, JCPenney has announced it's going to close 40 stores by 2015. There'll be a couple in Massachusetts, a couple in Rhode Island. JCPenney's like losing business and stuff, and I would not be surprised if in the next few years it goes under. And also, there's rumors that the New Jersey Devils have put Jaromir Jagr on the trading block, and the Bruins might be interested. But why would the Bruins be interested in him? Because when he played for the Bruins in 2013, he didn't score any goals. And that's about it on that. My third and final video blog subject of the night is my personality profile tonight, and my personality profile will be concluding the week of classic game show host. I have reached the classic game show host, Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek has hosted Jeopardy for over 30 years. He's famous for hosting that, but he's hosted a lot of game shows over the years and stuff. And he is also famous as well in his native Canada and the United States. Alex's real name is George Alexander Trebek. He was born and he grew up in Sudbury, Ontario. He is fluent in French and English and the Ukraine language because his father was a Ukraine immigrant to Canada. And Alex went to the University of Ottawa, and he majored in philosophy. Also, when he was in college, he was on the English Debating Society team. After he graduated from college, Alex started his broadcasting career with the CBC in the early 1960s. He worked on news and sports for the CBC television and radio. He reported on national news for the CBC, and covering sports was such as horse racing and curling. And he hosted his first show he hosted was Music Hop on CBC for a year in 1963. Alex first started hosting game shows in 1966 when he hosted the Canadian game show Reach for the Top. He hosted that for 7 years, and he also hosted another game show in Canada called Strategy, which was a year, it lasted a year and stuff like that. But Alex wanted to start hosting shows in the United States. That's where the big money for him was. He said that was the big money for him. And his first game show gig in the United States was a show called The Wizard of Oz on NBC that lasted about a year from the summer of 1973 through the summer of 1974. And Alex hosted that game show, and the opening theme song was sung by Alan Thicke, who was also a native Canadian like Alex Trebek was. And for the first few months that the Wizard of Oz was on production, Alex stayed at Alan Thicke's house, sleeping on his couch, because he didn't know if this was going to be a hit game show or stuff. And he didn't want to rent a place in Los Angeles because sometimes shows could be 13 weeks and it could be canceled. So he just wanted to be safe than sorry. But Wizard of Oz lasted a year and made him some money. Then Alex hosted the game show that was his trademark in the 70s, High Rollers, and Alex hosted it for 2 years on NBC between 1974 and 1976, and he dressed wearing a big, like, perm hair that was so big. It was like an afro, and he dressed sometimes in leisure shoots. The head of NBC Daytime at the time was Lynn Berlin, and she wanted all her game show hosts to dress like hip and like young studs. And after High Rollers went off the air in 1976, Alex hosted Double Dare for CBS, and also the $128,000 question in syndication in 1977, which was filmed in Canada. Also, Alex had another stint as High Rollers host from 1978 through 80 on NBC. It was called New High Rollers. The last episode of High Rollers on NBC in 1980, there was legend has it that Alex Trebek was a little drunk, but that was not to be the case and stuff. Then in the early 80s, Alex hosted a few game shows like the New Battle Stars on NBC, which was like Hollywood Squares with triangles, and he also hosted Pitfall, which was produced in Canada, but he did not get paid for that series because he got a check, but that bounced because a production company went bankrupt, and that was very hard on him because he was going through some hard times in the early 80s. He was on the verge of bankruptcy and stuff, and Alex also hosted a few game show pilots that didn't sell. He's like learned how to carpentry and stuff like that. But in 1984, Alex Trebek became a game show host superstar when Jeopardy was revived in syndication, and Alex hosted two versions like of Jeopardy pilots, 1983 and 1984. The first pilot in 1983, they used the exact version they used on NBC, but they said that would be too dull for the 80s. And then he hosted another pilot for Jeopardy, which this one sold, and Jeopardy made its debut on September 17th, 1984, and it's been in syndication ever since. But for the first 3 years, Alex Trebek was also a producer on Jeopardy just for his salary because he wasn't making too much for Jeopardy. But once Jeopardy became a hit, he became known as the host of Jeopardy. He's hosted for over 30 years. Plus, Alex Trebek during this time also hosted classic Concentration and To Tell the Truth and other shows, and he's synonymous with Jeopardy. He's been in over 15 movies and TV shows as cameo appearances as the host of Jeopardy. Alex Trebek became a United States citizen in 1998, and 3 weeks later, he got called for jury duty. And in 2001, Alex Trebek shaved off his iconic mustache. He had that mustache for many, many years. He shaved it off, and people were shocked, but he said that he wanted to do something for a change, and he actually grew it back recently, but he shaved it off again. He should have kept the mustache. And also, like, Alex Trebek's been the host of the National Geography Beat for many years, and he's also like a spokesman for Colonial Penn and other stuff, and he's like still going strong as the host of Jeopardy. There's been rumors he's going to retire after 2015-2016 season of Jeopardy because his contract expires, but he says he has no plans to retire, and it would be the 32nd season of Jeopardy. I think Alex Trebek might want to host Jeopardy until maybe the season 35. Maybe he could tie for the longest game show hosting one show, because Bob Barker hosts The Price is Right for 35 years, and maybe Alex Trebek wants to host Jeopardy for 35 years. And that's about it on him. And I'll be back later, Facebook friends and YouTube followers, for 3 more video blogs tomorrow. The first video blog will be about the top 10 greatest Kansas City Royals players of all time, and then the second one will be about the classic television sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati. And the third and final video blog of tomorrow night will be about former WWE superstar, the late great Earthquake, also known as John Tenta, and also in the WCW he was Avalanche and Shark, and his name John Tenta. And he came back to the WWE in 1998, part of the Oddities, wearing a mask called Golga. And don't forget, Facebook friends and YouTube followers, only 4 more days until I start reviewing the first 13 Royal Rumbles. WWE Royal Rumbles. It's time to rumble. It's time for the Royal Rumble. And next week, I'll probably be doing maybe 2 top 10 lists. 2 top 10 lists maybe a week, and some personality profiles during the week as well. During the 13 days I do the Royal Rumble reviews, there'll be not one day you won't see a top 10 list and a personality profile on the same day for 13 days, because they'll be alternating. And don't forget, Julie Broughton and Heidi Pratt's video profiles are coming. I guarantee it, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. And as that's what Bruce Cronin would say, want to put a wager on that, Richie? I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye now.